All right, what's up, everybody? We're going to go ahead and get in another episode of the Blind Line podcast where I go over the fight card for this week's UFC event going on in Australia. It's not a traditional episode of Blind Line. If you're unfamiliar with the podcast, I would go over every fight and then check out the betting lines for the first time after I give you my line. However, I didn't think I was going to be able to get out an episode this week, so I was just reviewing the lines as I went and lined them myself. So I did place a couple bets already that we will go over, but I'm not looking at the betting lines for the first time. So I'm kind of breaking the whole point of the podcast, but I'll take you through my thought process of where I was at when I did see the lines. Because, like I said, I still followed the reviewed the fights, reviewed the fighters, and then lined it myself, and then went to it. I'm just not doing it for the first time on live on the podcast. So, uh, regardless, we'll get a breakdown in first. What we always do is we check out last week's results. Not good, man. We're bleeding bad. As you see, these last couple events have not gone our way. This year has not gone our way. It's all on me for the last fight night. I kind of went more towards chalk than I did value, and I paid for it. I did like Aljo, but I just thought Zalao. That Zalao was just an up and comer guy. It was an opportunity to fade an older guy. It was not a smart move at all. Which is pretty obvious statement because Zalao got put through the mat. The Montague points handicap, I thought she 30-27 there. I know that second round was kind of close and she was backing up a lot. So I see why they get one judge did have 30-27, but I got a little too greedy on that one. I should have just took the -3.5, which was chalky, and I didn't really want to put that on Montague, but it would have hit. It would have barely hit, but it would have hit. And I believe it was like -160. I rather just went towards plus money because I just wanted to with that level of MMA and paid for it. Got too greedy. Cedricus Dumas, Jackson McVeigh under was easy money. Should have put more on that. Eric McConical, Rodolfo Vieira, RIP. RP to Rodolfo Vieira's career. He'll probably just flame out from here. That was just a terrible showing, and I faded him in the past, so I don't know why I was so confident in him. It was more of like an ultimate fade of Eric McConical, who I don't think is good, but him being strong was good enough to win that fight, and that's exactly what happened. Vieira just couldn't take him down. McConical was too strong, and then the Dumont Edwards. I also liked Edwards. I thought she was a good value at +200. That number did come down by fight time. Just stupid bets. It's really a lack of confidence. That's why I kind of went more towards chalk and away from the value. But I guess you just got to stay consistent with the game plan, and I was not this week, and I paid for it. So lessons learned. Sometimes you do got to go towards chalk in UFC. That's just kind of how it is. If you're feeling a certain way about a fight, you kind of got to follow that instinct. If you've been watching for so long, but I just heard something outside. But yeah, you just got to stick to a game plan and mix in some chalk. So me going all chalk, I think is what ultimately hurt me because, like I said, I did like Aljo at his number. I like the Jocelyn Edwards at that number, but God, there was a really good chance that they lost those fights and they didn't. So that's on me. Struggles continue. Got to stick to a game plan, which is what we're going to do from here on out. So lesson learned. Let's go ahead and jump into the fight card. We got 13 on tap this week. Got the early start time. It's like 4 a.m. my time, I believe, Eastern. I will not be watching in the morning. I do not want to start my Saturday mornings with Tai Tuivasa in the cage. So I'm probably going to watch these fights at night. I'll just obviously go on the Paramount app and stream them one by one. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. We got Cody Steele versus Dumar Fan. Let me put notes up. So Fam came from the Road to UFC tournament. He just won it, I believe, the latest edition of that tournament. And I'm pretty sure he's been an underdog in almost all of these fights. Every fight that I seen, he had a plus number. Okay, he was a favorite in the finals. Okay, now I'm looking stupid because he was the favorite there too, but he was the underdog here. And I could have swore he was the underdog in that finale, but looks like he was a favorite. But he is the underdog here. Like I said, I did review the lines already, so I'm going to talk about them as I go, and then we'll go check out what they look like now. But I think he's looked pretty good. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. It is a lot of his early fights in that Road to UFC tournament. He was looking to get the fight to the ground, but in the case in the finale, he was facing what looked like a wrestler, and he was the one getting shot on and had to use his frame to fight off the takedowns, which I thought he did a pretty good job at with his takedown defense. He is kind of long, so he was just able to kind of get up against the cage and extend his legs out and this made for a real problem to get to the mat. And then, like, even if I said if he did get to the mat, he is a brown belt, which is I believe is right below a black belt. I don't do any BJJ, or wouldn't even attempt to, but I believe that's pretty much the next step before a black belt. And outside of that, I noticed he has a pretty good striking too. Like I said, he has a long frame. He's put together some good combos. He can hold his hands low, so he's been popped. But boxing wise, I think he's like pretty solid. He can also be moved back, which is a trait you don't want, especially in this version of the UFC where it's like kind of like moment based. If you're constantly backing up and you get hit with like one or two big punches, usually the judges are gonna if the round's close, at least the judges are going to give it to your opponent for the octagon control and just the moments if something big lands. So that is something he'll need to fix too, because it kind of works against him if he is backing up. And on top of that, his hands are low, so he can be hit. But outside of that, he has really nice straight punches, decent kicks. But I thought, like, for him coming from the road to the UFC tournament, which I don't really rate too high, I guess that is usually he is fighting out Australia. I don't know where he's from. No, it looks like he was born in Australia too. Just the name throws me off. So I thought maybe he was Asian, but um, also has a cool nickname, Street Buddha. So that's always worth something. But pretty much what I'm trying to get to is that he's a complete product to me, skill wise. He has the grappling. His wrestling could use some work. A lot of his takedowns are like body locks, where he just trips a guy after that and gets it to the mat. I haven't really seen him shot like any clean, like single legs, double legs, anything like that. But since he has a bigger frame, and that does kind of work out for him if the matchup calls for that. So combine that with the solid striking, I thought he looked pretty solid. I was actually surprised he was a big underdog in that first Road to UFC fight. It made me question like his past, but his only two losses are against someone we'll talk about later, Salkild, who's been on a tear right now. So, like I said, I was kind of surprised he had that big number next to him in the tournament. It did make me question if I was missing something, but from what I've seen, he's pretty well rounded. And then he will make his debut against Cody Steele, who had already made his debut. I believe this is his second fight. He came on in a Contender Series, and you couldn't tell by the way he fought in the two fights we've seen him in so far. But he is a high level grappler. That's kind of how he got started and into MMA. He used to wrestle in high school, and now he's a high level, or at least like a black belt in BJJ, and that's kind of like how he got his come up and made his transition to MMA. But in that Contender Series fight, he was just boxing. Like, he was just marching forward and throwing hands. And he did try to get some takedown attempts in his debut, but was unable to get them. So he ended up getting outpointed there. And that's, like I mentioned, he did wrestle at, I believe it was high school. I don't remember if he wrestled in college. Let me check my notes real quick. I don't think so, but he does have the high level BJJ. But I just haven't really seen his wrestling look good enough for it to be, like that big of an edge against at least like a brown belt, which Dumar fan is, who could at least almost hold his own. I know black belt is above brown belt, but in the sense of a competition, and especially in MMA, I think he could definitely hold his own there and get up and make this fight competitive. So with that said, I haven't been too impressed with the Steele's stand up. He can march forward, so I give him that, especially with Dumar fan having the tendency to go backwards. So we'll see how that plays out. But in terms of just like who could throw the the cleaner punches and land cleaner at a consistent clip. I would at least say it's close to a pick 'em, but I do like Dumar Fan's length in this matchup. He will have 4 inches of reach on him, and it looks like about like 3 inches of height. So he will be the longer guy in there. With him having a decent BJJ skill set, Fan that is, I think this could be a pretty close fight. So when I went to the betting lines, I did see that it was somewhat in favor of Steele. As you see, he's like the minus 200 on a lot of books. And I didn't agree with that. I think this is a lot closer fight than these lines suggest because Dumar Fan has, like I said, he's well rounded and he could compete in the strongest area that Cody Steele has, which is the BJJ. And then, um, I mean, with that said, I honestly had Fan as a favorite just because he's longer, and I just like the way his straight punches look compared to Cody Steele, who kind of just marches forward and kind of will welcome a brawl. And I just didn't like how that translated to the UFC level. Like it looked good on the regional scene and in the contender series, but in his debut fight, I mean, granted he was facing a pretty decent striker, but I feel like it just his striking didn't translate too well to this level. So I can see how either side could be the favorite, but getting a minus 200 on either of these guys was not something I thought I was going to see. So I took Dumar Fan. I actually locked him in at minus. Let me go to my profile here. And we're going to spoil a couple bets here. So let me just do this. So yeah, minus or plus 160. I got him at, and I know it's not too far off, like 10 cents, depending on the book. Let me see which one of these is DraftKings. So yeah, he went up 10 cents on DraftKings. That's where I locked in at. So obviously not ideal, but I'm not too much. I'm not tripping too much on the movement on the lines. I understand Cody Steele may be a favorite because of the BJJ, and he does look better when he's marching forward and brawling. But I think Dumar Fan's going to be able to counter him. And like I said, at the very least, I think this is close to a pick 'em. So I don't get how this line is so favored towards Steele. So I'll take Fan. I took him for a unit and a half because I do think he's pretty well rounded, and I had a decent confidence on this being a close fight. So I didn't mind pulling the trigger on that line for sure. Wish I would have waited. If it grows a little more, maybe we'll do a little half unit on plus 200, but I don't see it. He's also the hometown fighter in the first fight here. So yeah, give me Fan. I'll definitely lock that in for sure. Well, I already locked it in, but yeah, you get it. Give me Fan. All right, let me back up. Go to the next fight. I believe it's going to be Jonathan McAuliffe versus Demba Gorimbo. If you peeped a second ago, I already do have a bet on this fight, but let's go ahead and pull it up. Make sure audio's working. Testing, camera. Looks laggy. I hope it's working. All right, Jonathan McAuliffe, Demba Gorimbo. Let's start with Demba. He's been in the UFC longer, and he's a pretty easy read because just a lot of his fights are literally cage clinching, body lock takedowns. Does have some solid like double leg, single leg takedowns. Has as well, but majority of it is just working on the cage and eventually getting his opponent to the ground and just racking up control time. He has had some fumbles using this style, as you see the guillotine choke to Fletcher. He also got rocked by Luque and put in a choke. Supposedly had a broken ankle in that fight, but that's excuses at the end of the day. And he had a pretty close fight with Jeremiah Wells, which I thought was a pretty bad matchup for him. Wells is a decent wrestler and pretty athletic, so he really struggled to get him down and work his usual game plan. But outside of that, he has some good straight shots. His combos aren't really good. They look really wild when he has to put more than 2 punches together. If he got someone rocked, it's going to look really ugly, and he's not really the most accurate. But straight punches up the middle. With him having a long frame too as well, and he's pretty strong. So anything straight up the middle, he could throw pretty decent and with power. So I mean, he's just one of those guys where you just know his game plan. Like he comes with the same game plan every time. He just wants to get you down and hold you, and maybe decent ground and pound too. So he will go for that in spots. But ultimately, his goal is to keep you down and rack up control time, which isn't the most favorite style now in this era of damage. But he racks up enough of it where it's kind of like undeniable. And yeah, outside of that, he's just like I mentioned, he's strong. He has good length. He has been stopped before, so durability is a concern. He's been rocked before. I don't think has he have a TKO loss? Yeah, he has one. That might have been before the UFC, so I don't know anything around that. Yeah, it was. But he was rocked against Luque, which led to that choke. So durability is somewhat of a concern. But yeah, he's an easy read. So we'll go over to Mikhailov, who is fairly newer. I believe he has 2 fights with the UFC. He came on through the Contender Series as well. He had a choke off his back, which was pretty impressive, I guess. But every time I say off the back, I have to say, hey, he got taken down though. So he was on his back, which is never a good thing for me. I don't want guys working off their back, but he's dangerous, so I'll give him that. Props to that. He does have grappling. Yeah, he's a BJJ black belt. I believe a lot of his wins are by sub. Yeah, they are 4 compared to his 2 TKO. So yeah, 44% of his wins are by sub. Um, on the striking side, he has like really good strong kicks. I know that fight against Jusei, he was just tearing up Jusei's body over and over, and there was nothing Jusei could do. And Jusei is pretty low level to me, so that's not like the most overly impressive thing. But good strong kicks. Not really much of a boxing game, to be honest. Though a lot of it is he just really relies like on his length and his power for that. So there's going to be a lot of kicks up the middle. But he is another guy that is going to be trying to grapple here. Like we said with the black belt, it's pretty obvious where he wants to go. And yeah, I just don't think this matchup really screams big favorite as I've known he is a minus 240, minus 247 favorite, which is kind of shocking to me. I know I just said that for the last fight too, but I thought it'd be a lot closer. But I think a lot of people are just fading Themba at this point because of his game and the way these two are heading with Themba losing 2 in a row and Mikhailov winning 2. So I kind of get it, but with Mikhailov not being the strongest striker and him being hittable as well, he does kind of keep his head in the center line. He's not really good defensively when it comes to the striking, and he could be taken down too as well. Like I mentioned, he was on his back during that Contender Series, and it is something that he's had to deal with. So maybe I don't know. I did line this fight as Stemba as a slight favorite, but it was just another one of those things where I'm just going off their skill set and um, like after I lined him as a favorite in terms of just like skill, I do factor in like the momentum of both fighters because that is important, and just like who's going to come in more improved because Stemba is a little older. So the argument is Mikhailov can come in more improved. So it's essentially close to like not a pick 'em for me because I guess Mikhailov could be the slight favorite if you're really factoring in the improvement side of it. But Demba's game plan, I think, has a solid chance of working here. Mikhailov is a strong dude, but I just don't think he's seen like a wrestling pressure like Demba could put on him. So at least Demba has a decent chance in this fight. So as soon as I seen 285, I jumped on that for just under a unit. And yeah, I just think the number is way too high. And do I have the most total confident in Themba? No, that's the reason why I only see the 0.75 unit on there. And my confidence was like about like a 2.5, 3, which means I think the fight could still be competitive. But what me thinking Themba has more of a chance in this number shows, I definitely jumped on it. And as we see DraftKings it moved to, so now he's under plus 200, and we got 280. Was it 280 or 285? 285. So good bet. You beat the price there, which is the ultimate goal. So Yeah, I just think he had way more chance than the 285 suggests. And let's see, it's been pretty much consistently going down. Looks like we hit peak pricing. So yeah, I mean, if Mikhailov comes in way more improved, he has the BJJ black belt, so he could definitely make Demba work and end up winning this fight on the feet, or maybe he gets some grappling going of his own. But just the 285, I just didn't agree with. So we snagged a great price on that, and we're gonna rock with that there. And obviously, since I already posted this and posted the bet, and I'm posting now, like a couple of days later. Um, just to give you some insight at the 195 number, I would still play that. Like I said, I thought Themba had a pretty good chance. Maybe I'll go like a half unit, but I would not mind just doing the same 0.75 U for the if you could get plus 200. You could get even higher on a couple other books here, it looks like. So I would play that. Let me check Bet 365 because they don't have that on here. So he's 200. Yeah, I wouldn't mind entering at the same price right here. And then the same thing with Fam. Obviously, his price has grown. So 100% take the 170. All right, let's keep it moving. I'm trying to work on my timing here. I don't want to be here for 2 hours. Next up, I believe it's Ben Johnson, Wes Schultz. All right, we'll start with Ben Johnson. He is a newcomer here, technically, even though Wes Schultz only has one fight in the UFC that lasted maybe like a couple minutes, but we'll get to him. Ben Johnson, this is an interesting one. As you see, he is 35, will be turning 36 this year, and making his debut with a 5-1 record. So he's a former Muay Thai champ. I don't know any of the details on that because I don't follow that scene, but I know he does come from that background, and he was doing a lot of coaching. He actually retired after that 2024 fight after he won the belt at Eternal. He retired after that. So what happened here is I don't know if it was the fighter he was training or training with was supposed to fight. He ended up pulling out, and they called him Ben Johnson for the spot, and he took it. So he's coming out of retirement here to go ahead and take this opportunity. He even mentioned that he doesn't know if this is like more of a one-off or if he's here to stay. I'm sure if he wins, he'll come back for another one. But yeah, kind of a funny scenario here where you got a guy that was content on retiring and coaching, but gets the call to come out and is taking the opportunity to go ahead and get into the UFC and gets a good matchup to possibly get a win. Just a little more on Johnston, though. Like I said, Muay Thai champion. So he has good versatile strikes where, kicks, punches, elbows, knees, anything in close, he's going to be dangerous. Shout out to Swisher Sweets loading up right here. And yeah, I mean, he's just his concerns are obviously going to be with the takedowns, and just coming from that Muay Thai, coming from Muay Thai, there's obviously no grappling there, so that's going to be the question he has to answer in the UFC. He does have some sub wins. I'd give no validity to those. To those, I did see, and it was pretty much guys that didn't know what they were doing on the mat, and as soon as he got their backs, he just choked them. They kind of look like high school bully chokes, where he just got behind them and he didn't even have like hooks locked in or anything. He just kind of got behind them and choked the guys out. This scene, as you see the records, 0-2, 3-2. So the scene isn't the greatest out here in Australia, the regional scene. So the record is what it is. I don't think he's faced too many good, decent talent, but striking wise, he looks really good. So he is going to be dangerous in this fight against Wes Schultz, who is coming off a TKO loss, I believe, to Penis. Yeah, Penis. I said it funny the first time because I didn't want to go straight into Penis there, but that is his name. And yeah, it didn't look good. He has like a wrestler background. I forgot. I think he wrestled in college. Yeah, he did wrestle in college and has some credentials too. Like he was an All-American. I don't know at what level. I forgot what division, but he comes from that. As you know, he pulled off that crazy submission in the Contender Series, and yeah, a lot of people were picking him in that Penis fight because Penis. I'm trying to get through this without being immature. But Penis is mostly a striker who hasn't really seen too much grappling. So a lot of people had Wes Schultz tapped to take him down, and they thought it was a good matchup for him. Turned out he could not get a takedown to save his life. And to be honest, I don't think his wrestling has really transferred over to MMA for whatever reason. It just has not looked good. And his striking is worse. So, like, if he doesn't get takedowns, he's going to lose. Absolutely, like, no punches, no boxing. I mean, I guess anybody could kick, anybody could throw a blind kick, but yeah, it just does not look good for Wes Schultz. I don't think he's UFC level. I'm actually shocked he got booked this fast since his last TKOs, and it's been about 2 months now, February, late February at that. So yeah, I just I don't know. I forgot, like I mentioned, he was supposed to face somebody else, but they pulled out. They don't have it on Tapology here, so maybe they didn't even announce it. It was just a situation that went on behind the scenes, but I think they're just serving him up here to like an Australian guy to get knocked out. But the guy he's facing is coming off retirement, is older, and does not come from any type of grappling background. I do give Johnston some leeway for being a coach. Obviously, I don't know what exactly he's coaching at these gyms, but he has to be a part of the grappling somewhat. So I would think that plus being a coach, he knows the game plan here coming from Wes. So yeah, I mean, this is a hard fight to line because I just really don't believe in both sides. So honestly, I did go with Johnson as the favorites, but my line was pretty close to this one, or at least not close enough for where my confidence is at in either of these guys. So I will end up passing this. I don't know if any props are out. It might be too early in the week for this down. Oh, never mind. We got a full list, so let's check it out. I guess this is a side of the blind side we could still get because, like I said, I haven't seen any props. I've just been looking at money lines. Ben Johnson 350 TKO. That's where you go. It's favored to go under. Like I said, he only got those subs because those guys did not know what to do, and this is a Muay Thai champion here. So 350. Yeah, this is mispriced right here. This should be flipped. So let's see if we could get it better anywhere else. And that doesn't mean I'm taking it, but that number does interest me because I don't think that's right. I don't know why they're overrating the sub right there. All right, Johnston by sub 323.90, or by TKO, I mean FanDuel. So we're gonna take down a FanDuel. That's just not right. And we know with Schultz just getting knocked out like 2 months ago. On top of that, Johnson is more of a KO artist than he is a submission fighter. So I know he shot it off. He could get the club and sub and make me look stupid, but I think he's going to land pretty much a couple hard shots. So yeah, he does have 4 wins compared to the 1 TKO. So I get why the sub is there. He does have some grappling, but I don't think he wants to go into that world with a wrestler like Schultz, who kind of wants to go there too. So that line doesn't really make any sense to me. Going the distance is pretty interesting too, because that's pretty for this being low level plus 400. But Johnson sub 390 at FanDuel will be a play. So we'll definitely do that. Most likely for just a half unit. Just a half unit there. Okay, moving on. Think we got the thickness, which is like the funniest nickname to me, man. Thickness. All right, here it is. Colby. Yep. Colby Thickness versus Vince Morales. We'll start off with the home country man, Thickness. Trains with Volk. Not saying that's why he got his opportunity, but it's just a fact. He does train with Volk. Made his debut last year against Little Taporia. Or I think he's his big brother, so it might be a little big Taporia. Little big brother Taporia. Yeah, just yeah. I mean, Taporia looks pretty tough. So that was kind of like a tough matchup for him with Taporia having a wrestling background. Seems like Thickness really wants to get to the mat. I believe he does have a black belt. Not completely sure on that, but I do know that grappling is the majority what he does want to get to. At least that's kind of like how he fights. I don't rate his striking very high at all. He's really bouncy in his stance when he's striking. He's like moving a lot, and it's like a lot of wasted energy because he's not really having the highest output, and I don't really think it serves him well. I don't see like his opponents being thrown off by all the movement he does. So that's something I did note. Um, he does get backed up a lot. His boxing is not good. Throws decent kicks, but like I mentioned, any level of MMA could really do that. It's kind of like a natural movement. As for the boxing, is kind of where you stand out. But yeah, I don't rate him high as a striker whatsoever. So it seems like he really wants to get to his grappling here. That's pretty much won him his second fight, which I thought was a pretty close fight, and he could have lost that for sure. It really came down to that third round. I believe the first two were clear. I don't remember for what sides, for which rounds, but the third was the decider there, and he was getting hit tagged with hard punches, and ended up getting like the takedown with about like a minute, 2 minutes left in that round. Landed some damage and ended up getting that fight scored in his favor. But I honestly thought the earlier damage done to him in that third, he could have lost that fight for sure. So he could easily be 0-2 in the UFC here. And with that said, I think this line could be completely different if he ended up losing that fight. Um, I know Vince. We'll get to Vince Morales, but just I know Morales. I don't think he's won since he's been back yet, but he's had some pretty tough matchups. And just knowing that Thickness really wants to get to the ground and doesn't really have like the cleanest path on the feet, I thought this would be a pretty close line. And also worth noting that Thickness was rocked a couple times. He ate some punches against in the second fight against Musasa, if I'm saying that right. But he was hurt once against Taporia pretty bad. And then on top of that, I just like I said, I don't think he has a real path on the feet. He just hasn't really looked good enough to rely on to win a fight there. So um, with him facing the veteran Morales, who, like I said, did come back into the UFC in 2024 and just faced like three really good fighters in a row. I know Lapalus got cut, but he's a really good point fighter and a good striker. And that was in France, where Lapalus is from. Faced a really good prospect in Elijah Smith, ended up almost subbing him, but Smith ended up fighting out of it. And Rosas Jr., same thing. He almost subbed him too, but took a 29-28 against those two. And I think he's a good matchup for Thickness because, like I mentioned, Thickness wants to get to the ground, but Morales is a pretty decent wrestler, at least from a physical side. Like he can stuff takedowns, he can land double legs. The BJJ is still questioned, but he does have a decent front chokes. So, I should say good front chokes because, like I mentioned, he almost finished Smith and Rosas Jr. with just that. As we see his last couple wins when he left, yeah, his last couple wins in the regional scene were chokes. So, yeah, I just think he's good enough on the ground to go ahead and be live in this fight. I had him as a small favorite. I'm not too high in his striking either, but I think he is a little better than Thickness on the feet. I think he pops a good jab, and his combos are a little better. And I just think his experience in facing these top guys can really show here against Thickness, who's just starting out and just doesn't look like he has that high of a ceiling to begin with. So I think him being a little older and being a veteran actually works in his favor here, since Thickness is a little limited right now. And if he comes and improves, so be it. But we did place a bet on this fight, if you could not tell already, because Thickness was the favorite, and it was pretty close from what I remember. I don't know if it grew. So yeah, it's close. Minus 130 for Thickness, and then Morales plus 110. I locked in Morales at plus 110, I believe, on DraftKings, and that number did grow a little bit, but I'm okay with it. I like getting the veteran at plus money for the reasons I said. So definitely go back in there and lock that plus 114, which I think it just changed. Yep, it just changed back to 110. So I think this is potentially a line that could flip closer to fight day. I don't know. The timing is going to be weird of the fights. Like I said, it is at 4 a.m. So I don't know if we'll see too much line flippage because it's just like the market's not going to be able to get to it in time. But if this was like a regular fight night, I can see a lot of people on fight day liking Morales and taking him at plus money and making this line a lot closer. And it still may do that if the market gets to the lines Friday night before everything gets started. But as you see everywhere else, it's pretty close. And yeah, I think Morales should be the favorite. So I went ahead and locked him in at plus 110 for a unit and a half, which I think is a good spot, just knowing how limited thickness is on the feet. All right, Malkoon, GM3. This was a hilarious read for me. I like laughed out loud when I seen this line, but I get it. So let's just go over it. Malkoon. You know what? I shouldn't laugh too hard because Malkoon cashed a max bet for me this year already when he faced Torres Finney. Was so happy to fade Finney at a good price. Yeah, I believe I got him like at minus 130 Malkoon for that fight, and he delivered. With that said, it still wasn't the cleanest fight. It ended up going to decision. He had Finney hurt multiple times. Finney ended up getting like actually hurt. I forgot. I don't know if it was his knee or something with his leg, but he was able to cash that bet for us. And now he's getting GM3 at home. All right. Yeah, I just want to start talking about the line because if you guys don't know, Malkoon is like the highest favorite on the card. He's like minus 1,000 or something. But just to break down Malkoon real quick, yeah, it's decent in boxing. Not too much of a kick game, but okay boxing. And but most of his game is he wants to get the fight down and pretty much just get control time on guys. A lot of his wins are just that, or he's landed some ground and pound. Yeah, so he got disqualified for elbowing Cody Brunage to the back of the head, which was a fight he was winning for those 4 minutes, but ended up losing for that reason. And then the Petrosky fight, that was the one where Petrosky just ran into his hip and knocked himself out. But outside of that, yeah, he's just one of those guys too, where you pretty much know his game plan, where he just kind of wants to get in on guys and shoot, get them down and control them. So that's a path open against GM3 here, because honestly, any path is open against GM3 at this point. But what I really don't like about Malkoon is how undersized he is. He's 5'9", which is extremely short for the division. GM3 will be a much bigger fighter here. He's 6'1", so what is that, like 4 or 5 inches of height? And yeah, 4.5 inches of reach. So that does worry me. And it's definitely a glass ceiling put over Malkoon because of that. He just looks like really small. Like he didn't even make Finney look that much smaller. And Finney is pretty short, even though he's stout. But that's the only thing I really don't like about Malkoon, and that was the only reason why I did not agree with him being a minus 1,000 favorite. It's just because of his size, but I get it because GM3 is kind of cooked. You see it, 4 losses in a row, finished in 3 of those, and just has not looked good. The durability is just, the first big punch he ate from Dauskas, he was done. Same thing with Olajaychuk. So yeah, like I said, I get it. Let's just go to the line because I've broken down GM3 so many times. He has like all the sub wins, but he has all the sub losses too. So um, yeah, he just cooked at this point, and we'll get to another cook fighter later. But yeah, it's just one of those situations where, yeah, I get it. He's cooked, but am I trying to pay this price on Malkoon? Absolutely not. I will end up skipping this fight. 125 TKO. I still don't trust it because of just like his game plan, his usual game plan of taking guys down and kind of just sitting on them. So if this ends up being somewhat competitive, I think he'll just do that. The over 1.5 is a little tempting for that reason, but you do have to trust GM3 to not fall over. So yeah, I would just end up passing on this fight, to be honest. Obviously got Malkoon, um, but the only value you're getting is in any type of over him by decision, and that's just something I don't want to bet right now. It's just it's a pass. It's just a pass. keep it moving. Junior Tafa versus Kevin Christian. Got a lot of heavyweight fights on this card, and they're kind of like one after the other, or at least they're very close together. So this is going to be an hilarious stretch. And we got some middleweights mixed in, which is like a pretty rough division too. Well, I forgot Tafa's back down to light heavyweight, so that does split it up a little bit. But you see middleweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, heavyweight, heavyweight. So this will be an hilarious stretch of fights here. Yeah, then I forgot that West Schultz fights at middleweight too, and that's very low level. So this will be, like I said, there's no way I'm consuming this first thing to start my Saturday morning. I have to be under some type of influence on a Saturday night. I don't want to be completely sober on a Saturday morning watching Junior Tafa face off with I call him the Big Mummy, Kevin Christian. But Tafa, I'll give Tafa props when props are due. I thought he looked pretty good in his last fight, physically for sure, and he looked improved, which is something you couldn't say about his brother. And for some reason, I always put Taito Ivasa, and I guess they just kind of look like the same guys with the tattoos and the body builds. So naturally, I kind of just like grouped them all together because they have the same weaknesses as well. So yeah, I give Tafa props. I thought he looked pretty improved in his last fight against Billy Lanka. He did drop Billy in the first round. Couldn't put him away though, and then Billy ultimately got his back for a takedown and choked him out. So that's pretty much what you got to do against Tafa. He has fast hands, fast kickboxing, and that's kind of what got him to the dance. It's his grappling that's just horrible. It's his cardio that's horrible. That could be fixed. His cardio not fixed, but at this level against this type of comp, not that much of a worry because he is in better shape now. So like I said, I will give him props for that. But any type of takedown defense is 0 to none. Any type of grappling, defensively or offensively, none. He did make Billy Lanka work. He was able to get out of some spots, but it takes maybe 2 takedowns to end that fight against him. And like I said, if he's gassed, and you could definitely take advantage of him on the feet afterwards. But like I said, he's in better shape now, so he could continue to be better. Definitely want to see what kind of shape he is in for fight week. But his fight was just earlier this year, so there's no way he relapsed too hard. And he still is in the light heavyweight division, so he is at that 205 mark. So like I said, shout out to him for really changing his physique and looking better. And yeah, I think he's live here for sure. And I shouldn't say live because I do know he's a favorite, but Kevin Christian, he's a Contender Series product. He did get a sub off his back, like I mentioned earlier. That means he got taken down, so he was on his back. And then he also faced Billy Lanka too, where he lost by a rear naked choke, and does not look great. He does not pass the eye test in terms of like his technique. He's very flat-footed. He kind of just marches forward. Like I mentioned earlier, I call him the Big Mummy because he's just so still. Like he's just literally flat-footed, walking like this at you. And on top of that, his volume just hasn't looked really good, or if not, like I should say, like poor. So essentially, he's just standing in front of guys, stiff as a board, and just asking to be hit, which is exactly kind of what happened against Alanka. He got hurt by a punch and then put in a choke. So I don't know. He has a really good frame. Like he's long. He'll be 4 inches taller, 5 inches of length. He is 6'7". So there is something to work on there. He does have a sub game as well, it seems like, but I really couldn't find any of these earlier fights to see any context in any of those. So um, just a lot of unknowns on his side. I don't know if he could really get to a takedown. He just doesn't seem athletic enough to really get to that. And with Tafa improving his body, I think honestly Tafa could go ahead and fight any of that off against someone that's less athletic than him. So I had Tafa as a favor here. I'm just not a believer in what I've seen from Christian so far. He'll really have to I mean, he has 2 paths. Obviously, one is the grappling, and then the other would be if he could start landing some calf kicks. If he could do that, They really stopped his fight. Tafa has been stopped by calf kicks before, so if he could get those two going, then he should be live. And you know, if you're gonna get a plus number to fade a Tafa brother, I completely understand why you would. But yeah, with just too many unknowns with this Kevin Christian character, the Big Mummy. So I will pass on this. Over 1.5. Nah, 170. Yeah, just not enough known about Kevin Christian to go ahead and take this fight. And I don't think I would ever pay anything over plus money or at least even money on someone with the last name Tafa. No disrespect, just business. Props looking about the same. You're paying chalk on Mr. Tafa. TKO. See, yeah, this minus 140 in there. Which I get it. It's his only path. Let me see what other books have. Yeah, because if this fight goes late, it's going to be so horrible. Imagine 9 in the morning and you're watching. Well, I think this pay per view will be over or fight night will be over at 9. So yeah, could you imagine watching this live like at 5 in the morning? What time did I get this at? Yeah, 5:40. So 6 in the morning, you're watching Tafa Christian slug it out in the third round. It's like minus 130 is the best you could get at FanDuel, which I get it because, like I said, that's his only path. So that's essentially like kind of like his money line, even though it's not. But this fight's a pass. That's a pass. All right, Cam Roston coming up. Let me get to the tap. All right, Cam Roston, Robert. Oh God, I forgot how to say his name. Burschek, something like that. He's from Poland, so I think that's kind of how you say it. Or at least I gave him my best. We'll start with Robert actually over here. Robert. All right, so boxer, he came through. Did he fight in the Contender Series? I don't think so. No. See, he just got signed. It's good for him. Cool. So yeah, he came in 2024. He lost to Eor Pretoria. That was kind of like a weird fight. Like, I believe there was a low blow and a finger poke. So like it started really slow and sloppy. Honestly, it didn't look good. Pretoria missed weight in that fight too. So take that for what it's worth. But losing to Pretoria is kind of that's not a good look on your resume. I don't think Pretoria is with the UFC anymore, but he's very low level, and that was kind of like a red flag to a lot of people. I believe he walked into that fight with Tavares as an underdog, yeah, at a decent price, mostly for that reason. But before that, he had like that killer resume where he was just knocking out everybody in the first round. You see all these stoppages, some of these against bums, but it kind of just shows like the power and kind of like what the UFC is looking for in this weight class of guys that are just going to walk forward and throw and some fights. So did not translate against Pretoria for whatever reason. First fight jitters, I don't know, but he did rebound against Tavares. And yeah, I mean, he's mostly just boxing. He can throw some kicks, but he throws really hard punches. And I think there's a reason why he has the TKOs, but I think it's going to translate to the UFC. And he showed that against Tavares with a third round stoppage and almost stopped that fight in the first round too, but ended up getting the stoppage in the second round. It was funny. Tavares came out in the second round after feeling his power and it's pretty much circled like the entire round. And you know, I'll just call him Robert for now because I don't want to butcher his last name. Had to chase him. Finally got to him in the second round. But he does have that nice stalking pressure where he's going to get guys up against the cage and unleash some of that power. So that is good to see in this era of UFC, this damage based competition. A guy that's going to throw hard, chase down his opponent, and show some takedown defense against Tavares. He had a couple good sprawls there, and But virtually, he's kind of like unknown with the grappling. Offensive, there's probably going to be none at all, especially against Cam Ralston, who kind of shines there. So he's just going to be walking straight forward and trying to throw bombs, get Ralston out of there. It's a pretty easy game plan to manage, and it's something I think Cam Ralston could definitely do. Comes from City Kickboxing, where he's going to get top tier coaching, and he's very well rounded. Ultimately, he does want to get to his grappling and use his black belt, but he comes from a Muay Thai background too, and it definitely shows with his long frame and being able to knee and elbow. Those very good straight punches. The only thing is he does suffer from that tall man defense where he doesn't really move his head. He's kind of just like backing up and relying on his length to take him out of bad spots. If Robert could go ahead and work his usual game plan of backing him up and getting up against the cage, I can see a world where he definitely knocks Ralston out. I mean, Ralston was hurt against Cody Brundage, not a good sign. I believe he was hurt in another fight. It slips me because just getting hurt against Cody Brundage alone is a bad sign. So, yeah, I think there's a path for Robert. I did make Ralston the favorite. Mostly because the big gap with the grappling. I think if this fight somehow just hits the mat, it's going to be in Ralston's world, and I think at the very least he's going to be in a good spot to possibly get a sub here, because I don't think Robert is as tested on the ground at all. His last couple fights have ended in the first round, excluding the two at the UFC, but um, cardio is another thing. I don't think his cardio looked too good. And those two fights with the UFC, he was as tired as soon as the second round against Pretoria. Like I mentioned, Tavares was doing a lot of running in the second round, so he really didn't have too much of an output there, able to close in the third, but his mouth was open in the second. So I also think Ralston has a pretty decent cardio edge here for if this fight goes late. And he's good enough on the feet to compete compared to on the mat, where I don't even think it's close. Like Ralston would just most likely get to his back pretty easily and be threatening there, or at least ride around, round out and win that way. So I had Ralston as a favorite, but my line wasn't too strong for what the market has and where my confidence is at. So let's check the props. So yeah, I had a feeling sub was going to be favored for Rustin. So yeah, I just don't feel too strongly about Rustin to take this. What's TKO 275? So that's actually the second favorite outcome by the books, which I completely understand. Um, minus 140 over 1.5 isn't too bad. I think both of these guys kind of try to stay away from each other's strength, so it could make for a slower fight. Go to distance 170. And then let's see, the over 1.5 does interest me, but just really not minus 140. Not really looking to pay that, but if I could get something a little more soft, let's check it out. Guess they're not going to be listed on the site. So it looks like it's on. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive elsewhere. So we'll see. I think this is a fight to see where the market goes. I don't know if Robert's going to get any love or if Cam Roston's going to get any as well. But I would see where the market pushes this line closer to fight day. I'm recording this on a Wednesday, so we'll see. We'll see where this fight goes. But right now, I do think Roston should be in a good spot to win this fight. But I'm just not this confident at this number. So we'll just wait and see on that one. Let's check a time. Where am I at my timing? I don't see it. Where is it at? Okay, an hour. Okay, that's not bad. We're almost done here, anyways. I believe we got the man, the myth, the legend coming up. Tai Tuivasa. Another easy breakdown. All hands. That's it. Like all those L's in a row. This is honestly insane that he's still getting booked and still has a job. Though some guys are yeah, there's been like undefeated guys that got cut. So yeah, I guess this is just the UFC now. 6 losses in a row. Breaks in competition, but you chug the beer out of a shoe. So go ahead and get out there and then I'm just at a loss of words. I just don't get it. I don't get why he's still here. But um, a part of me, like I said, I don't like to. I've said this in other podcasts. I don't like to, hate on guys. I don't. I'm not a. I've never. At a certain point in my life, I haven't been a fan of a fighter, and I haven't been like a hater of a fighter. To me, that's like immature stuff. Both ways. I can see how you could be a fan of a guy and want them to do well, but with me doing this, and on top of just I don't know being older and more grumpy and stuff, I just don't really get how like there's fan favorites and like how people could latch on to like guys. I'm more of like a fan of the sport, and that's what keeps me here. Um, and that's probably explains why I've like seeing 6 losses in a row. And on top of that, no improvement is something that kind of irks me because it's just like how's this guy keep getting chances when there's guys out there. I know it's heavyweight, but you'd rather see an up and coming guy get this spot, not this dude that has lost 6 in a row. Doesn't seem interested in improving. Also, doesn't seem interested about getting in shape. And he's getting a guy that's 0-2 to kind of make up and get him back on the right track. Like, it's just not how sports work. If you're not improving and you're not winning, you don't get to compete anymore. So, yeah, it is what it is. This is entertainment, I guess, at the end of the day. But Tai Tuivasa should not be in the UFC. He should be somewhere until he improves. So, yeah, and he's facing Louis Sutherland. Ties all hands. He's one of those guys I don't want to break down either because as soon as you get a takedown on him, if you ever thought about doing a takedown, you're most likely going to win against Tai Tuivasa. And that's pretty much been his downfall. I don't even want to talk about his last fight with Teixeira. It was horrible. That split decision was a mockery. Whoever that judge was probably got fired and probably has never judged again. Tybura choked him out. Volkov choked him out. Pavlovich, I don't remember exactly, but finished him in under a minute. So, yeah, you get this resume and your fan favorite, you actually get a winnable matchup. So let's just move on to Sutherland. But the Vanilla Gorilla came in 2024. He got heel hooked by the heel hooker himself, Walter Walker, and then he got knocked out by Brando. I forgot to pronounce how to pronounce his last name, which sucks because I'm going to get to him later. But did get finished earlier this year by Brando, and it's getting rebooked here pretty fast against Tai Tuivasa. Um, I mean, he's had some earlier fights where he's kind of been in that same class as Tuivasa, where he's looked very out of shape and kind of just looked like a fade for that reason alone. But lately, he's been in a lot better shape, and he does a lot of decent things for the division, decent boxing. And one thing that I circled that he could possibly do is wrestle. And the reason why I circled that is because he's facing Tai Tuivasa this week, who, like I said, I'm not going to keep, hating on him, but he just can't stop a takedown. And if he can he stop the next one? And if he can't, it's over. Like he's just going to get taken down and rolled out. And especially with someone that knows what they're doing. I don't know if exactly that is Sutherland, but I know Sutherland looked pretty decent on a couple of single legs. He landed in his last fight. So I'd imagine that would be the game plan here, since he had it in his last fight against a better opponent that was just able to be more athletic and him stop him. We don't have that here with Tai Tuivasa. He's going to be able to get in on single legs and double legs and at least have enough success to not get finished, I believe, like as quick as he did here. So if he does get a takedown or two, it could ultimately could mean that he's going to win that round for sure with just control time, because Ty is going to gas as soon as the second round. And I think a wrestler who could be gassed as well will at least be able to grab a hold of his leg and just scoot him down, because it's going to be that easy. So when I checked the lines, I honestly didn't know where this line was going to be. I could see the case for either, because I do know Sutherland is on that 0-2 stretch, even though Tai Tuivasa has 6 losses in a row. But just with people being more familiar with Tai and remembering the good old days, and I just didn't know where the line was going to be. And of course, he is a favorite and minus 200. Like, what are we doing here? Um, like, in what world is he a minus 200 favorite against anybody? Knowing the shape he's in, knowing that the questioning his commitment to MMA is a real, is pretty fair to do. So I seen this, even though my confidence is a little low because it is heavyweights. It is Louis Sutherland who's low level. I still had to pull the trigger on Louis. I put I think I just did like 0.75 units at plus, was it 170? Yeah, 170 on DraftKings, which the number looks like it's still there. So yeah, that number hasn't moved. I think I did that yesterday. I don't remember, but yeah, like I said, Sutherland shot a takedown in his last fight. He's gonna do it here. Tai Tuivasa can't stop a takedown. He has little to no defensive grappling. He could probably get up once or twice. I will give him that. He did do that in his last fight, but we seen his gas tank after that. Um, if Sutherland, who has had a decent chin, I know he did get finished in his last fight, but we're talking about a guy that's like way more athletic and just faster than Ty and Sutherland as well. So he was kind of just able to use that, and we'll actually get to him next. But yeah, Sutherland he could shoot a takedown, so he should be very live in this fight. And with that said, plus 170 was an easy play, but just for the 0.75 units because it's just so low level and it's very volatile. So we'll just be in on Louis here. We'll get plus money to fade Tai Tuivasa and be happy with that. All right, going up. Was that the first? Yeah, that was the first fight of the main card. So we're moving on to the second fight. Shamil Gaziev versus Brando Perchek. I don't remember how to say it. But yeah, the Perchek is the city kickboxing product. He came on earlier in the year, or was that last year? Yeah, it was last year. I don't even remember this guy. I think this guy came in a short notice, but he put him out fairly quickly, and he did the same thing with Louis. Just really used his athleticism, the gap there to finish both of these fights. So yeah, there's just a lot of unknowns about him, to be honest. Like I don't really think he's been tested past the second round. I don't even think it was. Yeah, he has a short amateur career as well. I believe he came from a kickboxing background, but I'm not completely sure. There's just a lot I don't know about him, so I could do a little bit more research to see. But I'd imagine with just like his skill set that he comes from some type of striking background. I don't know necessarily if that's Muay Thai or I don't know. I mean, he has thrown some good knees in a clinch. He did against Louis. That's what kind of started the barrage for when he finished him. But he just has a lot of unknowns, and from his grappling to his gas tank late, and so yeah, I just don't really have too much of a good read on him. I need to see more of him. But with him being as athletic as he is at his height, yeah, let me see the gap here. Oh yeah, Gaziv's a big boy too, but for that the athleticism gap, it's I mean they're going to obviously look the same size, but the movement is definitely going to be something that stands out between these two. But Perchich should be in 6'5", actually a foot tall or inch taller than Gaziv, and has a little bit of a reach on him, not much, but with him getting moving and the way he's going to be moving compared to Gaziv, it is kind of gonna, I believe, show and how much faster he is going to be than him. With that said, Gaziv is no slouch. I know he's had some questionable results lately, but he could wrestle. I think that's something he'll try to get hit to here. He could force this fight up against the cage and kind of just try to drag him down. Louis Sutherland, like I mentioned, did get a takedown on him very briefly, but Perchich was able to get up. So I think that is a route he tries to explore. But I think the gap in athleticism is really going to show here, just because I don't think Aziv is as dangerous as some may think he is. I know he does get the 9 TKO wins, but I believe a lot of those are on the indies. And yeah, he beat up Boudet pretty bad, but that's Boudet. Thomas Peterson pretty much just said, "Yeah, hit me in the face." Like Peterson just didn't have his hands up that entire fight. So Yeah, I think the gap in athleticism is really going to show here. So I do want to pull the trigger on Perisic, but let me check out some other lines here. You can get -3.5, 115, which isn't bad. Let me check DraftKings real quick while I look at other props. We got TKO -110. So that's something that just stand out to me. TKO being 20 cents cheaper, which you know makes sense in a way. But like if you could just pay 20 cents more and get the money line, um, and it's at this price, like -110, -130, that kind of stood out to me because like that just kind of just shows you like the books favor him to win, and you only got to get -130 compared to like a finish. I don't know if I'm making sense at all, but just those two numbers being so close and so low uh, really did interest me in playing him. But let's go ahead and check out the board. Okay, so yeah, it seems to be pretty consistent. Yes, or hold on, plus money on TKO. All right, so FanDuel has plus money on the TKO, which I like. I don't think he has any wins by sub. And he only has 7 fights, and I'm pretty sure all of them are TKOs. Than they are. Oh, he does have a sub win. Look at that. Like I said, with so many unknowns with him, I honestly probably would just play the TKO because I think his best path is just to use his athleticism and just uh, swarm him pretty much, which I think he is what he's shown that he is most interested in doing, and just kind of finishing guys and um, landing one good punch and just kind of like unloading the clips. So I think that is something he could eventually get to a Gaziv, but if the wrestling path is open, that would make for a pretty interesting fight. So to not if you just really don't if you feel like me and you just really don't know too much about Perisic, I would just play the TKO, which I honestly I am gonna do because I was looking for a plus money angle on him to get plus money on his most realistic path. Because Lord help us if this goes to decision. I would just play the TKO. I think that's a decent play if you want to play Perisic, and I was looking to because of the gap in athleticism. So I'll do that. Books are favoring us to end. Like I mentioned, he is a -110 on most books for the TKO. So I would just take plus money on him to get that done. And let me check the -3.5 on DraftKings. That's the same as his money line, -130. This is -115. So yeah, plus money. Plus money on TKO for Perisic on FanDuel, plus 100. Cool. Only a couple fights left. I believe we got a Tim Elliott, Ursake. Oh, they added Rakiki to this fight? I didn't know that. I didn't know they added Rakiki. Okay, so that's news to me. This is damn, when did they do that? I was just on typology. I still haven't been on social media either, so I forgot to say that was a side of the podcast I did stick to. Ali Schmid. Who in the hell is this? Please don't tell me he's fought in UFC before. I was gonna say no way. So yeah, obviously I have to look into this fight. I have no idea who this guy is. They really squeezed Rakiki onto this fight or on this card. That's funny. So yeah, I'll address that. With it being short notice and don't know who the hell that guy is, we'll most likely pass on it. I'd imagine Rakiki kind of is getting a showcase spot here, so it'll probably be a big favorite anyways. But we'll see what the lines say for that when they come out because I haven't even seen them. I don't even think it's on fight odds. They must have added this like today. Okay. All right, Tim Elliott, Steve Ursig. Ursig, the former title contender, he got that shot in 2024 that everyone was kind of surprised by. Only had a couple fights in UFC before that. Ended up losing only a round though, and it was a round difference between him and Pantoja, so it was pretty close. He traveled to Brazil for that, so he was fighting in enemy territory, and yeah, I mean, people still felt like pretty high on him. Like I said, he only lost by a round, so it's kind of one of those guys that you thought could probably make his way back, but then he ran in Kai Kara France and got knocked out 4 minutes in, and then he lost to Brandon Moreno by decision. And what we know from Brandon Moreno now, that's not the best look, at least where they're both at in their career. With Ursay, on the come up, and he fought Ode Osborne, which was not a great fight for him. He ended up winning, but it was not a clean performance. He got hurt in that first round, and I think he only landed like 10 something strikes. I have to go back and look, but it just wasn't a great performance for Ursig for, coming off the losses. In a way, he kind of had to, fight how he did to make sure he did get a win because, that many losses in a row would have definitely put him behind, especially against Audie Osborne, who is good, athletic and dangerous early, but, you know, um, it was just a tricky matchup with him coming off a TKO loss, or not off the TKO loss, but having that in the back of his head, which he admitted he did against Moreno, the Kai Car France TKO. He said that during the fight with Moreno that he was kind of thinking about it and he was hesitant. So um, not a good thing you want to hear from fighters. You kind of got to have like that mentality. I kind of like have it with my betting where, you got to flush everything that happened previously and just keep moving forward. If you can't flush, then you're just gonna, things is you're gonna play mind games with yourself. You're gonna talk yourself out of spots. You're gonna talk yourself out of your game. So that was kind of concerning to hear that TKO was in the back of his mind. Getting rocked against Audie Osborne probably didn't make that any better. And like I said, his volume was fairly low in that fight. So overall, I'm just kind of down on Steve Ursig, mostly because he just refuses to move his head. He's even made comments about it that he doesn't have to. He just uses his boxing and his offensive, and he kind of just does the backup thing. He's not moving his head at all, so he can be clipped. With that said, he still is well rounded with his wrestling and his grappling, and he has good size for the division. So I think he definitely sticks around, but his ceiling has definitely lowered. And where he's kind of just at right now, I'm a little low on him at the moment, not the highest, and not looking to back him at crazy numbers right now until he kind of rebounds. With that said, against Tim Elliott's tough, but I've just never been a fan. And he's a high level grappler. All the wins by sub. Well, actually, only 8, but his game is getting the fight to the mat and working there. But the way he sets it up is unconventional with his striking. He has like that like twitchy style, and he's just always like switching stances and giving different looks. And then when you overcommit, he's just getting a hold of you and taking you down and getting to where he wants to go. That's exactly what he did against Akai Asakura. Asakura kind of just fell asleep and got rocked to sleep with all the movement and all that, and got taken down and got guillotined. And yeah, but now he's 39. I'm pretty sure he's turning 40 this year, and I'm just never been a fan of his game because I don't think his striking is good at all. He just really knows how to set it up to get to his grappling. So as long as you don't fall into that trap of him, bringing you in, you should be pretty well. You should be able to box with him. I think Steve Ursay could box his head off if he wanted to. I hope he doesn't wrestle with him, but even if he does, I think Ursay is like the stronger guy and could be able to take him down and rack some control time. So I do like Ursay in this fight. I'm just not a big fan of Tim Elliott's striking style and how committed he is to the grappling at this age. I think kind of guys like that tend to fade a little sooner than most. So fully expected Ursay. I didn't even line this fight because I knew Ursay was going to be the favorite here at a decent price, just where these two are at. And 270, not thrilled to back Ursay at this price, to be honest with you. But it's one of those chalks that I kind of just want to take because I think he wins this fight. So, kind of going against the whole value thing. But like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, you kind of got to have a balance of both. And I think this is one of those situations where you take Ursig because he's just a more prime fighter and he has a good skill set. He just needs to move his damn head and get out of his head with the whole getting TKO thing. So TKO decision -145 isn't a bad play. With that said, Elliott's been subbed a decent amount of times, and Ursay can get to the ground and has some ground game. So, but if you wanted to get off that price, I guess maybe that's the best play. Let me see where we could get that elsewhere. Yeah, everyone looks like every book is expecting a decision here. Ursay TKO decision. So yeah, I don't get to see all the props or all the books on here. -160, -150. So it looks like bet 365 will most likely have the better price there, -145. So yeah, I might take it, but I also thought about parlaying him, so I'm gonna wait on this. I really wanted to parlay him with our next fight, so let's just go ahead and get to that one. It's Salkield versus Bernil Dariush. This is another one that doesn't kind of feel like worth breaking down because where Dariush is at right now. It's kind of sad at this point. He keeps getting booked against killers. He did get a Moicano booking, which is a fight that he won, and kind of expected him to win that fight. I think he was at plus money. I played the over just to be safe, but yeah, he got that one done. But around it is just straight unfortunate results. Like since that Charles, he just hasn't been the same. Got knocked out 16 seconds against Benoit Saint Denis. Pretty much like the first punch that hit him, it dropped him very bad. And then he also missed weight in that fight. He's been one of those guys that has stated that if he's not really winning or in title contention, he's not too bought into it. So this feels like a situation where he's just fighting out his contract to get out of it and be free and just do whatever he wants. And on top of that, just cash some paychecks for showing up since he's been with the UFC for a while, so he's kind of on that higher tier pay scale for them. But missing weight and getting finished is just not a good look. It just seems like you're not all the way in it. They try to kill him for sure against Manuel Torres, but luckily Torres dropped out of that fight. But now he gets sack healed, and it's kind of the same, man, because Sakiel is well rounded. If there's going to be a path for a Bernil, it's going to be his normal wrestling and grappling, which it could be there because I've really have said in the past that Sakiel is a little overrated. He has a great frame and he's powerful, so he had that head kick TKO that. Um, well, yeah, I mean, before that he had he has two highlight knockouts, so I see why they're pushing him. Especially with this being an Australian card, and that's where he's from. So uh, I get it, but I think he still has a lot of work to do. Um, I would like to see more, but that's for another day because he should just knock Dariush out because usually, or right now, anybody could. It's just one of those situations where he's cooked, and his chin's gone, and I believe he's been TKO like 6 or 7 times now. Facing a bigger, stronger guy, it's just not going to go well, man. Yeah, 60K losses. So yeah, so yeah, I wanted to parlay Salkilled with Steve Ursay. So I'm going to see if I could get a good price for that because I think these are just two fights where they win. The prices are what they are, but this is they're just two in really good spots against two older guys. That Elliott's not exactly fading. He's off a really good win. But with their sake, having the fight IQ he does, I think he stays out of the bad spots. And then Dariush is just cooked. So I want to take advantage of that somehow for sure. So I'm going to look for South killed by TKO, but I don't even think you're getting that great of a number. I believe it was -140-ish on draft or on 365 yesterday. It looks like they already changed. Yeah, so it looks like it's moving. Everyone's jumping on it. I just really Sakio has a sub game, so I'm just not really interested in paying chalk on that. I also think if Dariush somehow holds up, this fight could go a little longer. And but yeah, it's kind of hard to make a case for Dariush now. So I would most likely parlay these two. It would kind of be like my chalk parlay, which I think it's chalk. But like I said, these are just two fights where I think the skill sets with the younger guys that aren't cooked are hard to deny. And I think there's a reason why they're in these two spots here, leading up to the main event. So Quillian's in the co-main with Usyk right before that, and I think they're there for a reason to kind of show them off against the home crowd, against guys that aren't really dangerous anymore. Elliott is dangerous. I shouldn't say that because that would be my blow up spot if I had to pick one. But um, he's just not too dangerous of a striker to really be down on Ursig right now. That if he was facing like a more of like a power puncher, that guy that could hit, then I really wouldn't pay this price on Ursig. But since it's more grappling based, which is more of the pressure coming at him, I would definitely go ahead and parlay Ursig. So I'll probably lock that in now because it looks like FanDuel's moving. And I'd imagine he'd be a popular parlay piece. So that'll be my chalk parlay of the week, Ursig and Southfield. Which brings us to the main event, which is an interesting one because I've seen the lines are kind of moving. I believe JDM started as a fave. Money coming in on Prates. So yeah, I'm interested in this one, man. This is going to be a good fight. I think a lot of us were excited when we seen this booked, and with the last couple of main events. I mean, we had the pay per view, but the last fight night main events have been not too much to get excited about. So it was good to see this get booked and stay together. Former title holder versus an exciting fighter in Carlos Prates. So um, we'll start off with the favorite now, Carlos Prates. Man, like the boogeyman striker, man, like power. You see the knockouts. If you're unaware, he fights with the Fighting Nerds. There's a pretty popular gym in 2024. They're on the come up. Mauricio Rufi, who I think doesn't train with him anymore, but Cal Barhalo was a coach there, along with a couple other guys that they have. Gene Silva, they came up, but to me, Prates was always the one that, I mean, along with Gene Silva as well, but Prates was the one that was like the most exciting to me, and in terms of potential, because he kind of like was coming up in 2024 when Alex Pereira was doing his thing at his peak, and it kind of reminded me of Pereira, the length and the style. He has a little bit more Muay Thai than Alex. Alex is more kickboxing, but Prates could finish you with anything, and like I said, you used to see it the first couple fights. He had a TKO streak. I forgot. I don't want to add all these up, but literally the TKO streak was just one after the other for years until he ran into Machado Gary and ended up losing the decision there in a 5-round fight. So yeah, his style. He wants to march forward. He throws knees up the middles. He has a crazy knee to the body. Like if he catches you and you're coming in with that, he stopped Racky with that. Um, Left hooks, jabs. I mean, he just hit Leon with a straight in his last fight, and it basically took Leon off his feet. I've never seen that happen to Leon or to kind of like anybody. The way like Leon was like literally punched into the air. Like even he looked surprised. Like he was out, but like you could tell there was some shock on his face. Like what did I just get hit with that put me down like that? So yeah, just boogeyman power and his kickboxing and Muay Thai is just off the charts. If anybody could get to the grappling, that is something that needs to be answered. I know Machado Gary tried, and Prates is actually a black belt from what I've heard, but there's no interest in him grappling. That's at least going to just go to all defensive. But I don't think if we've seen it against someone that really has pursued that game plan late. So that's something he will have to answer. Another thing is his output has been questioned, especially early. He can't lock a lot of volume, and he's been giving away rounds. I mean, Machado Gary did a good job of moving, so that was a credit to Machado, or credit to Gary on that. But Prates didn't really do him too much favors in that fight with how low his output was. Everyone points out that he smokes cigarettes, so there's that too as well with the cardio. But yeah, I did. He's just dangerous, man. He just has that fight ending power. He's just kind of like a guy you want to back because he could end the fight at any moment. And he faced JDM this week, former champ, like I mentioned. Great boxing. This is going to be a great fight on the feet to watch. Coming off that performance against Islam, where he was basically crying on a stool because he could not do anything about Islam's takedowns. Islam was just too strong, and the control time just racked up. There's literally nothing he could do. But before that, he had the resume. Was finishing guys, but just to wrap this up, man, this is just gonna be a boxer versus kickboxer. I think JDM may explore some wrestling, but Prates' takedown defense is held up against better. So I think he'll abandon that pretty early if he does try. Um, with that said, with this being a striker's delight, I got to go with the boogeyman. As I said, I got to go with the guy with the power. I think he's a lot more versatile with his strikes. And yeah, I think this is just a bad matchup for JDM, which kind of sucks because I kind of like JDM. I like his game. I like his boxing. But if Bilal Muhammad can touch you, I think Prates can. I'm also not a fan of how much reach JDM has given up in this matchup. Let me double check. I think it's like 4 or 5 inches. Yeah, 5 inches and like 2 feet of height. So yeah, it seemed like Prates was pretty high to get this. I think him and his camp do know that this is a good matchup for him. So I see why. I'm just really debating my angle on here because I do think this is still a close fight. I kind of miss getting Prates at even money. It kind of disappeared on Monday. Like as soon as Monday hit, everyone started jumping on Prates and forces numbers. So maybe you could wait. I don't mind a minus 118 right now. And I was hoping to get a discount on TKO by decision, but the books are saying nah to that. It's like pretty much close to his money line. So, um, yeah, I like Brates. I'll end up taking him. I just don't know if I'm going to take him by TKO or by just straight up, just in case something crazy happens. Because, like I said, he does have the black belt. Could be a club and sub situation. But I think the TKO is live here because he just has a reach. He has a power. And with JDM's boxing style, marching forward is kind of going to force Prates to throw, and I don't think his volume is going to be too much of a worry. So I will keep you updated on Prates and what angle I take, but I probably would just play it safe and take the money line, to be honest, since it's more than playable, and you can get, I believe, DraftKings has been everywhere, but it's minus 118 now. Probably like a unit and a half there. I wouldn't go too full confidence because I just got respect for JDM and what he could do with his boxing. But I think Prates is the side here for sure. And that'll be it. That's the entire card. So let's just go ahead and recap real quick. All right, Cody Steele, Dumar fan. I took fan on the money line. I think he's just very well rounded. Cody Steele's striking hasn't looked too great since making his debut, and I just think Dumar fan's skill set is a lot more equipped for the UFC. Cody Steele does have the black belt. Dumar fan is a brown belt, so I think he competes and makes this fight pretty close at least. So I do like in the plus money. Jonathan McAuliffe, Demba took them by 285. That price has went down to plus 200. So yeah, just a price play there. I don't think McAuliffe should deserve that much respect against Grimbo, who has a real path to winning that. Wes Schultz, Ben Johnson by TKO. I do have to lock that in. I don't have it locked in yet, but I think the book's got that price wrong for sure since they're favoring the sub. But he's a Muay Thai guy. He just happened to get subs on the regional scene because the talent sucked. So I'll take Johnson by TKO there at 390. I think that was on FanDuel, but I'll lock that in to make it official. Kobe Thickness, Vince Morales. Took Vince Morales at plus money. I like the veteran there. Just the skill sets, the matchup with Kobe wanting to grapple and Vince being pretty defensively sound. At least he could stop takedowns from Thickness, who's not a good wrestler. More of a guy that shines once he gets the fight to the mat, but struggles to get it there. And I think Vince Morales can be able to stop him and at least use his boxing to to look like the better play there at plus money. Malkoon GM3 pass. Malkoon minus 1,000. No. Tafa, Kevin Christian. That was a pass as well. Just need to see more out of Christian, and I'm not really interested in paying minus 200 on Tafa or even chalk on a TKO. Just not for me. Cam Roston versus Robert. Um, this was a wait and see. I want to see where the market goes on here. I think this fight could see some action on both sides, so maybe it doesn't move. But yeah, this is a wait and see because I like both of these guys. I just don't have a strong lean anywhere, so I'll leave that one alone. I'll see where the market goes. If money comes in on Ralston, I'll gladly take Robert, but I'm just gonna see where that goes. We took Sutherland here against Tai Tuivasa because we got plus money to fade Tai Tuivasa, so you take those. Brando Perchich, we're gonna end up taking him, I believe. The TKO on FanDuel for unit 100. Rakiki didn't even know about. Ursay, Quillen, Soutkill, Parlay. We're gonna do that just to fade the older guys. One of those can be starched with any punch, and then the other one is kind of grappling or bust at this point. So if Ursay is gonna be my blow up spot, I admit, but it's just one of those situations where he should win. He has a skill set to win. He just has to stick to a sensible game plan, and I think he can. And we're going to take Carlos Prates in the main event, just the length. I just went over that, so I won't do it again. But yeah, that's it. 13 fights or 12. And then I won't touch that Rakiki fight, but I'll look into it. We'll see where the line opens at. But yeah, that is all for the card this week. I appreciate you guys checking me out if you made it this far. Let me know if you want to see any other type of content, anything like that. Once I get more time here, the job's been a little busy now. But once I get more time here, I'll start doing more news stuff, maybe. But yeah, that's the card. I'll go ahead and lock these other picks in here. So follow me on Twitter at MMA Mees, and then go ahead and follow the Bet MMA page too, if you have one of these. But usually this is where I'm posting bets first, so at least bookmark this page and refresh it. Everything will pop up. You don't need to pay for anything. This is all going to be free. So yeah, bookmark the page and refresh it, or at least check it once. Once or twice during the day to see where I'm at. But I'll probably lock in those picks and be done. So I'll do that tonight. And then, yeah, I appreciate you guys checking me out. Until next week.